Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Castlevania Rondo of Blood. In the last part, we ventured through alternate stage 5 as well as stages 6 and 7, funny numbers, and now we're in the final stage of the game, stage 8, and fun little thing, like several other versions of this stage in other games. There is a small secret tied to this stage, namely this room we're in right now where you can get several point bags. You get up here by jumping near the door that leads into the main hall here, and then holding up right around where that little chip on the wall is to my right. Also, silly but fun behind-the-scenes fact, I've had to restart the commentary recording on this part several times, because I keep calling this game Castlevania Bloodlines, in this stage specifically, because the Richter name of this stage is Bloodlines, and anyone who played Symphony of the Night knows that directly. Final boss of the game, as usual, is Dracula, and honestly, his phase 1 is a pretty standard Dracula fight. He's going to teleport across the stage and lift his cape up. Depending on which armor he rises up when he does so, he'll actively shoot either 3 fireballs at you that you can either destroy or jump over, or he'll do a proper Hellfire cast and throw 2 meteorites at you that you need to duck under one and jump over the other. When I first played the game, I actively thought which attack came out when was actively random, but it's actively determined based on his animation. Namely, if he raises the arm that's closer to us as the camera and players, it's going to be the 3 fireballs, but if he raises the one that's further away from us, it's going to be the 2 meteorites. Upon depleting his health bar, he enters his second phase ripped right out of Castlevania 1, the original demon form is back. With that said, the first phase is arguably more dangerous because this phase, while large, only jumps around and occasionally fires some fireballs out of his mouth when he lands. As you can see though, Maria really decimates his health gauge, especially if you bring the dragon in. I honestly think this might be Dracula's easiest offering in the Classicvanias, but I'll talk more about why in a few moments. For right now, that's game, sort of.
Once again, the blood of Belmont has defeated me. Perhaps this, too, is part of my fate.
It's your fault for being so mean to everyone.
It is not by my own power that I am resurrected. It is the greed of humanity which calls me back. And thus, by might, I rule. Might becomes the one and only justice in this world.
I don't understand what that means. No matter how complicated you make it, a bad thing is still a bad thing.
So long as greedy humans exist, I shall be reborn. That's all you need to remember. You proved amusing to me. We shall meet again, blood of Belmont.
What you think is so funny?
Dare I say the only credits theme in the franchise that's only slightly less fitting than I Am the Wind for what actively we just went through? I would normally say that's Rondo of Blood, and it technically is, but we have 2 playable characters for a reason. They actively do each have their own separate ending. And rather than just show both endings in a row, I'd rather actively showcase one character finding their final boss and then the ending, so I can actively showcase how the boss works for both characters. With that said, Richter definitely has the much tougher fight against Dracula than Maria. But yeah, I actively think Rondo of Blood Dracula is the easiest incarnation of him in the Classicvanias, at least. And I'd largely say it comes down to 2 or 3 points. A, how few attacks he has, and how either character's mobility is able to counter it, as even Dracula in 4 does more attacks to counter Simon's own boost of mobility in that game. B, how much damage either character can throw out. We saw how quickly Maria can melt that fight, but not for nothing, item crashes alongside how much damage Richter's base attacks can do can melt through that boss just as quickly if you do things right. And the sort of third point against him effectively is familiarity. Like I've said, this is a game I've played a lot. Meanwhile, arguably the other Classicvania I've played the most is the original Castlevania, which has almost the exact same progression in its final fight, barring the first phase not having the meteorite hellfire he has here on top of the second phase's fireballs behaving a bit differently. Plus, on top of that, as anyone who's played Symphony of the Night knows, that game's intro is this game's final stage from Richter's perspective with an even more boosted moveset for Richter, so I'm just really used to fighting this version of Dracula. For whatever difficulties you have throughout the rest of the journey, be it reaching certain exits, fighting certain bosses or the like, or even finding some of the maidens, Dracula at the end is honestly a bit of a victory lap more than anything, especially compared to the boss rush back in Stage 6. I'd say that's probably overall the hardest boss in the game. And, not for nothing, that might be exactly why the remake of this game, Dracula X Chronicles, adds a third phase to that fight if you go out of your way to rescue all of the maidens. And not for nothing, that third phase, on top of a few other eccentricities in the remake, actively make the remake's fight against Dracula, in my eyes, one of the 3 hardest fights against him in the franchise. Before we go tackle the final boss and watch the ending as Richter, I do want to showcase some things here on the file select. Namely, if you looked at the file select outright, I'm now at 100% because this is active footage I recorded after doing alternate stage 5. There's a music player in the options, and also this is the boss demos menu I talked about earlier. By spending credits you earn in the game by earning certain amounts of points, you can actively watch developer ghosts fight bosses and even showcase some secrets. Like, this is how you're meant to learn about the Guardian Fist attack that Maria has, on top of some other things. I showcase this specific demo in full, but then I show one boss demo sped up just to showcase what they're kind of like. A part of me was tempted to farm enough credits to actively buy all the demos, because that could arguably be a true 100%. The only reason I didn't do that here is because I realized I'm gonna have to do that plus some in the remake, more or less, due to all the collectibles the remake adds. So that's gonna be one beefy Castlevania LP when I get to that game eventually. It does take many credits to buy every boss demo, though. If memory serves, you have Death's Fight in the prologue by default, but buying the others takes around 3,000 credits in total. You do get a few hundred by just playing the game normally, as we can see by the fact I had just shy of 800 credits coming into that menu, but that's still less than a third of what you need overall. Thankfully, there are some really good farming strats, though. One I used to use a lot was actively using the candles in the hidden room just before the Dracula fight, which is about 11 credits a piece if memory serves, and they respawn at death, so between all your lives you can easily get about 40 plus. Helps that credit save even if you hit pause and then return to title, so you can actively just get onto your last life, hit return to title, and you'll keep all your progress there. Another notable farming method is actively heading back into Stage 6 and jumping along the bottom half of the screen as either Richter or Maria to reach the far right side. And a breakable wall over there, I think, is a bag worth 10 credits? So through all your extra lives, maybe about 40 plus credits at a time, and it's overall much faster than walking up the stairs to the hidden room in Dracula stage over and over again. Perhaps the 2 most profitable farming locations, though, take a bit more effort to reach. First off, there's the one I mentioned earlier on in the LP in main stage 4. If you take the hidden route through all the death traps and reach the switches near the bone dragons, if you press exclusively the switch on the left and then kill either bone dragon, they each drop about 6 to 8 bags worth 700 points. Doing that over and over again across lives, you can easily get over 100 credits at a time in no time at all. It just takes a little time to get there and you might die along the way. Plus the enemy points along the way from enemies you kill on top of that can help build up. The final notable farming strat is actively to go through stage 7 again. Specifically, if you've already saved Annette and then go grab the key in the one room with the bird and then go back to the room she was in, there are now about 8 candles there, each containing a 700 point bag. Doing that over and over again is yet another really quick way to get over 100 credits at a time. With that said, it's quite a bit more of a time investment than, say, doing the strategy in Stage 8 or Stage 6. While I finish up this refight demo against the Dullahan, let's talk about more people in the special thanks segment of the credits. Toshifumi Higashi's first role was as a programmer on Yume Penguin Monogatari for the NES. After that, they stuck being a programmer, doing so on Marshall Champion for the Turbografx-CD, Tiny Toons Adventures Acme All-Stars for the Genesis, the first Dino Crisis, followed by Snap Kids for the GBA, as well as both Contact and Again, the games for the DS. We didn't see them again after that until 2022 Star Ocean the Divine Force as a programmer as well. Meanwhile, Nori Sato as well as Pokopen Ito in the special thanks are only listed for this game as far as we can find. One name that's decently familiar in this set is actively Keita Kawaminami, who we actively talked about near the end of the Circle of the Moon LP not that long ago. To somewhat abridge their career, they started as a bug tester on Bayou Billy for the NES, they were one of the leads on Mystical Ninja starring Goemon for the N64, and in their later years at Konami, they were largely a producer, including such on Circle of the Moon. After they left Konami, they co-founded Good Feel, with their most recent credits being Princess Peach Showtime as a text writer. Next up is Koji Yamamoto, whose first non-special thanks credit was as a programmer on Martial Champion for the Turbografx, before also programming Sparkster on the SNES. They then programmed the Magic System in Vandal Hearts 2, they were on tech support for Suikoden 3, and they were a program lead on Contra Shattered Soldier. After that, what few games they're actively credited for are in R&D roles on some of the soccer games Konami was putting out through 2007, like PES 2008. Kenji Miura, on the other hand, also started as a programmer on Vulcan Venture before programming on that same Acme All-Stars game for Tiny Toons on the Genesis. He then worked on some Japan-only puzzle titles before being the chief programmer for Harmony of Dissonance and a drama programmer on Lament of Innocence, presumably a cutscene programmer specifically. His most recent credit was as a technical director on Tokimeki Memorial 4. Toshifumi Wada started as a graphic designer on Vulcan Venture and also did art for Martial Champion and Acme All-Stars. They directed Beat Mania on the PS1, did sprite work for Egg, Elemental Gimmick Gear before doing game and character design on both Shaman King Master of Spirits titles on the GBA. They left Konami sometime after 2005, eventually finding themselves at Our Zest to work on Hey Pikmin as a field designer and Balan Wonderworld as a character designer. They seemingly left that company after that, with their most recent credit being as a graphic designer on Pac-Man World Repack. With that, let's get back to the game, because it's time to fight Dracula as Richter. Something I didn't say outright about this fight as Maria, mostly because the fight didn't take too long, is that similarly to most other fights against Dracula in the series, you can only damage him by attacking his head in both phases. Due to this, you'll probably want to try and use sub-weapons that linger in the air for a little bit before they disappear. So the cross boomerang, for instance, can hit 2 or 3 times if you hit it just right. Maria's dragon's really good, as well as her Suzaku birds, which you have to be really close to use those reliably. I wouldn't really recommend the axe or dagger, if only just because of their speeds relative to their damage. The Holy Wire can be pretty useful here, more so for its item crash though, because Hydrostorm does great in this fight. I also just realized there's an attack I never mentioned the second phase having when we were playing as Maria. Namely, every now and then, that form will raise both of its arms up behind it and generate electricity. That's going to create a giant shockwave attack that moves forward very quickly, and you just need to duck under it. Well, I'd say this is probably still the easiest Dracula out of the Classicvanias. That's at least, actually still a fight unlike Castlevania 2, which I probably should have mentioned earlier. Richter definitely has a harder time in this fight, if only because he has a harder time avoiding a lot of Dracula's attacks. You need to time your jumps and attacks a lot more effectively to either both damage Dracula or damage the attack and prevent it from going off, time your backflips and all that. And getting underneath this form of Dracula as it jumps from one side of the screen to the other, in some instances, can be really tight, and it's very easy to take a very silly death with that exact circumstance. Also, it just occurred to me, if I had a nickel for every single game I adored that had this as a final boss background, I'd have 2 nickels, but it's weird that the 2 options for that are this and Final Fantasy IV.
Impossible. Not this time.
Once again, the blood of Belmont has defeated me. Perhaps this, too, is part of my fate.
Death to you! The world is not yours to exist in!
It is not by my own power that I am resurrected. It is the greed of humanity which calls me back. And thus, by might, I rule. Might becomes the one and only justice in this world.
Of all the self-serving claptrap! The same basic faith drives all people to seek, to come together, to move forward. That surely can't be an evil thing.
And yet, here I am. Do you not have any desires?
Well...
It is by your desires that you humans prosper, and it is your faith which has ruled you. Considering that, can you really call me evil?
But people cannot be ruled by power alone. The sacred, the honorable, the loved, those things can rule humanity. Something evil will eventually fall to ruin!
I see. Perhaps you're right. We shall meet again, Blood of Belmont.
And that's finally Castlevania Rondo of Blood. Before I get into my main thoughts on the game, worth noting, those images of the 4 maidens we saw on the top of the screen a moment ago are actively the only change that happens to the ending if you rescue all 4 of them here in the original release of the game. Like I've said several times, the remake goes above and beyond to actively make it so that there's many more changes if you don't get all the maidens, and there's also a lot more just hidden throughout the game to begin with. Which, while it still has a lot of the same broad strokes, actively leads to it being one of my favorite remakes of a game I've ever played, if only because there's just so much there for new people and returning players alike. As for the original game here, Rondo of Blood is great, just flat out. I think I may have said this in other Castlevania LPs over the damn near 15 years I've been doing this, but while I love the Classicvanias to begin with, I've firmly been in the camp for most of my life now that this is my favorite in this half of the franchise. Between the main and alternate stage routes leading to varied playthroughs that can change both depending on my vibe the day I play the game on or what I mess up, between tight feeling controls and boss fights, between some of the strongest level design in the Classicvanias, though there are some definitely very annoying enemy placements along the way, but especially with easily one of the best soundtracks in the series between its original melodies and remixes of prior songs, Rondo of Blood is just a very complete feeling package for me just to pick up and play on any given day. Even compared to most of the other Classicvanias I adore, like Castlevania 1, 3, and 4. I really recommend this one, but if you want to play any version of it, you're kind of tight on choices barring the emulation route. The PC Engine version was Japan only up until the PSP remake, but the remake itself has never been re-released on modern platforms. Nowadays, your best option is the Castlevania Requiem collection, but finding a physical copy of that can be hard on top of the fact that it's the only collection for the franchise that's locked to one platform, specifically PS4 and 5. The game was also available in the Turbografx-CD Mini, though, at least, so that could be a route. And the game was at one point available on the Wii Virtual Console before that shut down, but never the Wii U Virtual Console, bizarrely enough. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, have a great night, take care, I'm glad I can finally end the arc of me saying I'll get to this game eventually, and I'll see you guys next Let's Play, whatever that may be. See you guys then.